There are some crazy ways to get around in Minecraft, like teleporting with ender pearls, sliding around with boats on ice, or flying around with elytra and rockets. Recently, though, there's been a lot of talk about an experimental feature that completely changes the transportation and traveling game. So let's talk about minecarts. Specifically, how insane the new minecart feature really can be. Generally, minecarts are used to transport players or entities around the game. By placing down rails, players can move anything that fits in a minecart fairly quickly across the map. This can be friendly or hostile mobs, chests, and hoppers. To gain speed, players can push the carts along manually, use gravity, or even make a little train engine with a furnace. One of the ways to speed up carts the fastest is powered rails and redstone. As a minecart passes over a powered rail, the minecart accelerates towards its top speed. Currently, the top speed in any one direction is 8 meters per second. That's almost 18 miles per hour or 29 kilometers per hour. Now, that's not the fastest way to get around, but it's still pretty good. But the developers over at Mojang are working on a way to change this game mechanic completely. A few months ago, the Minecraft developers announced an experimental game feature where the top speed of minecarts can be changed with a new game rule command called minecartMaxSpeed. If enabled, users can change the value to anything starting at the default 8 all the way up to 1,000. Now, although the value is set to 1,000, that's not actually the top speed. That's because the calculations also factor in things like drag, which slow the player down. So the actual horizontal speed is closer to 400 meters per second, which is still insane. To put this into perspective, 400 meters per second is around 900 miles per hour or 1,440 kilometers per hour. I mean, that's faster than the speed of sound. At sea level and around 20 degrees Celsius, sound moves at 767 miles per hour. Now, this 400 meters per second completely blows the current land speed record out of the water, set in 1998 by Andy Green. This speed is in the transonic speed range. Other things in this range are jets, bullets, and the wind speeds on Neptune and Jupiter. Although the force of wind colliding with your unprotected face would probably not feel very good, there are other things that we need to consider when getting up to these speeds. To figure out what this would do to a person, let's figure out the rate that the minecart accelerates. The cart goes from 0 to 60 in 1.34 seconds. Although that seems pretty fast, that's only 2 Gs, or just 2 times more than what we experience standing here on Earth. A lot of roller coasters accelerate faster than that, so it's definitely reasonable. Just maybe watch out for those turns. A minecart making a 90-degree turn in 1 meter, you'd experience over 16,000 Gs, which is more than enough to disintegrate you. So, that's what would happen to a human, but what about a heavy load? Minecarts can have chests added to them, but the maximum speed of a minecart with a chest is significantly slower than that of a player or any other entity, especially when the chests are full. There are actually different speed limits based on what block gets added to the minecart. But we can bypass this speed limit with a little game trickery. Boats are considered entities, and recently, Minecraft added a version of the boat that has a full-size chest attached to it. This means that we can load a boat full of shulker boxes into a minecart, and we can load this with one of the densest materials, netherite, to ensure that we have close to the maximum weight possible. Hey, sorry to interrupt. Real quick. Yes, technically you can pack more ice into it if you take into account the amount of blocks needed to make blue ice, but the weight difference is less than 4.5%. But in all reality, blue ice actually exists in real life and weighs a lot less than water. Otherwise, it wouldn't float. And for our calculations here, we need a block that has one of the highest hardness levels of the game. And netherite has the second highest rating, tying with obsidian and only being beaten by reinforced deep slate. So not only is it extremely dense, but it's incredibly hard to break too. Sorry to interrupt. Hope you're enjoying it. If you are, leave a like. Now, back to the video. The mass of this moving monstrosity is tremendous, at over 3.5 million tons, equivalent to 60% of the Great Pyramid at Giza. This mass that's hurtling around a track at 400 meters per second has a huge amount of kinetic energy, or how much energy is needed to speed the minecart up, or more interestingly, slow it down. See, kinetic energy is defined as 1/2 of the mass times the velocity squared. With our mass being 3.6 million tons and our velocity of 400 meters per second, this minecart has a whopping 1.9 petajoules stored. That's the same amount of energy as 450,000 tons of TNT, making it on par with the yield of nuclear bombs. Since it's made of netherite, we can really see what kind of impact this would yield. If we were to take this amount of mass at the top speed and collide it with the ground in real life, we'd end up with a crater a mile wide and 1,000 feet deep. And I'm not joking when I say crater, because now we're talking on the scale of asteroid impacts. In fact, asteroid impacts this large only happen on average every 13,000 years. Some examples of craters this size include the Meteor Crater in Arizona or the Luna Crater in India. These craters were likely made from asteroids around 100 to 200 feet in diameter, moving upwards of 17 kilometers per second. So just be careful how you use this experimental feature. You probably wouldn't want to leave a crater in your world that spans over 1,500 blocks and reaches down to bedrock. But who am I to judge? Maybe you just want to see what would happen if something the size of the 2032 asteroid were to actually touch down. Anyway, that's it for this episode. This idea actually came from a comment by SuperSueMC. So thanks for the idea. If you guys have any other ideas that you want to see me try, leave a comment down below of what you'd like me to see if it's possible to do weird video game things in real life. And be sure to like the video if you really did enjoy. It means a lot to know that you guys are enjoying these videos. Until next time, I hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll see you later. Ciao!